Does this heading seem singular? What, it will be said, is at all probable that any nation or combination of nations can entertain designs against us? A people so peaceable and at the same time so distant, knowing the daily increasing resources of this country in all the means of defense against foreign aggression. How absurd in the nations abroad to dream of a conquest of this soil. Let me nevertheless ask attention which I humbly offer. My reasons for believing that a conspiracy exists, that its plans are already in operation, and that we are attacked in a vulnerable quarter which cannot be defended by our ships, our forts, or our armies. Who among us is not aware that a mighty struggle of opinion is in our days agitating all the nations of Europe? That there is a war going on between despotism on one side and liberty on the other. Every account from Europe attests the correctness of the views here taken more than a year since of the political state of the civilized world. This war of opinions, or of categories, as Lafayette termed it, is in truth commenced, and Americans, if they will but use common observation, cannot but feel that a neglect to notice and provide against the consequences of that settled, systematic hostility to free institutions so strongly manifested by foreign powers, and which is daily assuming a more serious aspect, will inevitably result in mischief to the country, will surely be attended with anarchy if they wake not to the apprehension of the reality of this danger. Americans, you indeed sleep upon a mine. This is scarcely a figure of speech. You have excitable materials in the bosom of your society, which, skillfully put in action by artful demagogues, will subvert your present social system. You have a foreign interest too, daily, hourly, increasing, ready to take advantage of every excitement, and which will shortly be beyond your control, or will be subdued only by blood. You have agents among you, men, in the pay of those very foreign powers, whose every measure of foreign and domestic policy has now for its end and aim the destruction of liberty everywhere. To increase your peril, you have a press that will not apprise you of the dangers that threaten you. We can reach you with our warnings only through the religious journals. The daily press is blind, or asleep, or bribed, or afraid. At any rate, it is silent on this subject, and thus is throwing the weight of its influence on the side of your enemies. Foreign spies have clothed themselves in a religious dress, and so awestruck are our journalists at its sacred texture, or so unable or unwilling to discern the difference between the man and his mask, that they start away in fear lest they should be called bigoted or intolerant or persecuting if they should venture to lift up the consecrated cloak that hides a foreign foe. Americans, if you depend on your daily press, you rely on a broken reed. If it fails you in your need, it dare not attack popery. It dare not drag into the light the political enemies of your liberty, because they come in the name of religion. All despotic Europe is awake and active in plotting your downfall, and yet they let you sleep and you choose not to be awaked. A little more sleep, a little more slumber, a little more folding of the hands to sleep. And now, like a man whose house is on fire, dreaming of comfort and security, you will perhaps repel with passion and reproach the friendly hand that would wake you in season to escape with your life. Do you doubt whether Europe is in hostile array against liberty? Read of the movements and revolutions of foreign cabinets. As one or the other principle temporarily predominates, read the views of the statesmen of Europe. A distinguished member of the Spanish Cortes, Don Teleforo de Trueba, in a speech delivered before that body a few months since, says, "The present war is not a war of succession but of principle. Liberty and despotism are at issue. England, France, Belgium, Spain, and Portugal have ranged themselves under the banner of the former. But it is not necessary for me to name those powers who follow the standard of the latter. Of Don Carlos and his government, he says, ignorance, hypocrisy, and fanaticism are his only counselors, whispering to him new modes of oppressing his people. Everything around is stamped with the marks of baseness and falsehood. While in this infernal region, desolation and death reign triumphant. A sanguinary priesthood is sacrificing human victims to the God of peace and love. Men who wish to bring back the dark ages, the age of tyranny and ignorance and death. The foreign correspondent of the Evening Post, in a letter from Florence, Italy, published in that journal December 27th, 1834, has the following information directly from Tuscany. Hitherto, in the administration of the government, a disposition has been shown to let off political offenders as lightly as possible, but lately, however, something of the same jealousy of republicanism has shown itself, which has been manifested by the other absolute governments of Europe. A quarterly journal was suppressed a few months since on account of something which gave offense to Austria. This and several other acts of the Grand Duke have greatly diminished his personal popularity. The rulers of Italy appear to have come to an understanding that it is time to make an example of some of the disaffected. Now, this Austria is the same busy, meddling government that is operating in this country. We scarcely read the name of Austria in a foreign journal or in letters from abroad, but in connection with some plan for extinguishing liberty, and yet we harbor her emissaries, promote their secret designs, contribute our money to swell their coffers, build for them their seminaries and convents, entrust our children to their instruction, court their favor, shield them from all attack, yes, even put ourselves under their protection. All this we do, and our native blood flows evenly in our veins. Spirit of 76, where dost thou sleep?